Dr. Joseph Martin. The topic for this presentation with you and discussion with you and your friends is United Once More, Soul and Social Responsibility and Sustainability. You know, it's interesting anthropologically and historically, we're realizing that, of course, since the time of the fall of Babylon with King Nebuchadnezzar and then the fall of Persia and so on, there was in our storyline of the Western world and the Arab world, the Eastern world, we have a story that we all used to have one language and one culture, and we could understand each other clearly in our hearts, and we all seemed to work together. But somehow, with the fall of Babylon and the temple of all the languages there, it all just fell apart. We haven't been able to understand each other or hear each other when we're commuting between ethnic groups or religious groups or even family groups or neighborhoods or communities or nation states. We've lost the capacity to listen to the heart language of all the other people near us, including the other groups on the planet. And that would include, of course, the animals and the plants and the trees. Because in most of our native mythology, we understand that there was a time when we could hear all the languages of all the animals, and they were supporting us and teaching us, and now we've lost the capacity. There's like frequency fences or barricades between ourselves and the animals and the Earth Mother, and seemingly, again, these seemingly impossible fences between groups of people. Well, this is a time, for thousands of years, of course, where there have been endless wars and back and forth and retributions and reactions and revenge and all these kinds of things going on. It's led us to a place historically in the earliest part of our 21st century here where it seems that we're at a tipping point now, that unless we learn to speak with one another and really listen with our hearts and communicate deeply and truly and honestly with a sense of humility, and a sense that there's really only one family here among all the different colors and the wonderful diversity of the human race. Unless and until and when we do, we will be able to co-create a brand new world here in which there will be complete environmental sustainability. There will be spiritual fulfillment and freedom for every single person and group on the planet. And there will be human justice, social justice, human rights, and equality for all. And there will be free access, or at least open, equal access to all the things we need to sustain ourselves here, including water, first and foremost, and food, clothing, shelter, natural resources, abilities to heat our homes, and so on. All these things are part of what will create a new unified global human heartfelt presence here on our home planet Earth. This is a call to an awakened consciousness, I guess. This video is just one of many of an emerging global consciousness around this notion, which is not simply an ideal that we hold. It's actual a practical necessity for us to create a unified global family and culture of equality and human rights, and most of all, the operative word, freedom. It's time for every one of us to make the choice inside ourselves to occupy freedom in our own life, freedom to be who we are, no matter what, and freedom to share with everyone on an equal basis and serve other people. And to occupy love, that deep sense of connectedness, kindness, and the sense of joy that we get when we are supporting other people and loving them and listening to them, understanding, even though we might have our differences, allowing them the capacity and the ability just to be who they are and help support them in becoming that as they do with us. This is something that's a needed goal right now. It's part of our ongoing series of videos that you'll be able to listen to and watch. And I'd like to suggest for you that some of the things that you might want to read and discuss with yourselves and your groups, your tribes, your peer groups, your friends, your families, your schools, and among all the people who want to learn about how we can do this. Here's some books that you might want to read, some very powerful people who've come to a great understanding about all these matters. Susan George, a wonderful world economist, has a book called Whose Crisis, Whose Future? I highly recommend that. I just finished reading it and got a lot out of it. An individual called John Perkins, who used to, amazing personal life story. I'll let you look into that on your own. Who used to work with the political economic hegemony in the American institutions and sort of undermining different groups of indigenous peoples worldwide. And then his honesty and his truth speaking got to him and decided he could no longer do it. So his book is his autobiography called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. John Perkins, Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Wonderful, wonderful discussion of how we can get honest with ourselves and do something more positive in a co-creative way for all our relations. I'm sure many of you know about Paul Hawken, Hawken, Paul Hawken, many books, one of the top kind of ecological environmentalist economists, kind of polymath. The one that I just finished reading that you will find really powerful in terms of turning your heart open is called Blessed Unrest. Paul Hawken, Blessed Unrest. And James Howard Kunstler, a novel he wrote called World Made by Hand, based on a lot of his analyses of the politics and the economy of the international trading situation and where we are globally now in terms of transnational corporations and the environment as well. His book called The Long Emergency. Wonderful. James Howard Kunstler, The Long Emergency. And lastly, Joseph E. Stiglitz, Stiglitz, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for Economics not so long ago. Two of his books, Globalization and its Discontents, Globalization and its Discontents, and another great book I'm reading presently, Making Globalization Work. And that would be Joseph E. Stiglitz, Making Globalization Work. There'll be further videos on this topic. Obviously, it's going to be a long, wonderful process for all of us to engage in, hopefully and pragmatically, day by day, within ourselves and our communities. I'd like to leave you with this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the wife of President Roosevelt of the United States a while back now. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I have lived through this horror. I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the one thing you think you cannot do. You must do the one thing you think you cannot do. What is that next one thing that will help you turn your fear into courage and strength, decision, love, and action? Love to hear from you and enjoy the process as you turn everything from fear and to love, courage, strength, decision, and action. Dr. Joseph Martin, until the next time, all love and blessings with you. Be well, be healthy, be happy, and hope above all.